Let's talk about the movie Leatherface. Starting Texas Ranger Hal Hartman, the main antagonist of Leatherface, and he is the father of Betty Hartman, who was murdered by Sawyer family. And Verna Sawyer serves as matriarch of the Sawyer family, and the relatives Jedediah Sawyer, also known as Leatherface and as Jackson while living in a sanitarium, is inbred and intellectually disabled member of Sawyer family who regularly murders and eats any perceived intruders in their rural home, Texas. Leatherface is a cannibalistic and mentally unstable mass murderer who, alongside his family, kidnaps, kills, and cooks unsuspecting travelers who ventures near their ranch in an unidentified part of Texas. The chainsaw is Leatherface's iconic weapon, albeit he has also murdered people with such as cleavers and hammers. As far as we know, Leatherface is being psychologically controlled by his family to hurt and murder somebody, which is the reason why he became a mentally unstable murderer. In view of the fact that intruding into a child's emotional and mental development is defined as psychological control. The emotional and psychological needs of their children are neglected by controlling parents. They restrict, invalidate, manipulate the psychological experience of the children. They also suppress independent emotional expression. These controlling parents use guilt, love withdrawal, disappointment, disapproval, and humiliation to affect their children's feelings, thoughts, or ideas through the parent-child interaction.
So, nature is a pre-writing and it is influenced by a genetic inheritance and other biological factors. Nurture is generally taken as the influence of external factors after conception, the product of exposure, life experience, and learning on an individual. Nature refers to all the genes and hereditary factors that influence who we are, from our physical appearance to our personal characteristics. So, relation to the movie Leatherface, many people think Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies are all the same. They have no story, no point, and just feature a never-ending bloodbath of someone running around with an oversized weapon, carving people up. What I got instead was a frantic, action-packed, fast-paced bloodbath with a crazy story to boot. Nurture refers to all the environmental variables that impact who we are, including our early childhood experiences, how we are raised, and our social relationship. The directors in this movie wanted us to see Leatherface transition into the mindless killer in a different light. They wanted us to see the events surrounding the change, rather than just portraying him as being born that way. It explains how serving the family in later films is done out of sense of duty that came from feeling like the world had done him wrong. This one makes the argument in the nature versus nurture debate that circumstances and surroundings can sometimes create a monster.
What is chromosomes? Chromosomes are thread-like structures located inside the nucleus of animal and plant cells. Each chromosome is made of protein and a single molecule of deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA. Passed from parents to offspring, DNA contains the specific instructions that make each type of living creature unique. Chromosomal disorder, any syndrome characterized by malformations or malfunctions in any of the body's systems, and caused by abnormal chromosome number or constitutions. Examples are childhood disease and disordered congenital disorders, or chromosome monosomy and trisomy. It includes the diseases Down syndrome. Genetics is the study of how heritable traits are transmitted from parents to offspring. Humans have long observed that traits tend to be similar in families. It wasn't until the mid-19th century that larger implications of genetic inheritance began to be studied scientifically. A genetic disorder is a disease caused in the whole or in part by a change in the DNA sequence away from the normal sequence. The gene is the basic physical unit of inheritance. Genes are passed from parents to offspring and contain the information needed to specify traits. A gene is a region of DNA that encodes function. A chromosome consists of a long strand of DNA containing many genes. Genes are arranged one after another on structures called chromosomes. Humans have approximately 20,000 genes arranged on their chromosomes. Genetic disorders can be caused by a mutation in one gene or monogenic disorder, mutations in multiple genes, multifactorial inheritance disorder, a combination of gene mutations and environmental factors, or damage to chromosomes, changes in the number of structure of entire chromosomes, the structures that carry genes. New discoveries of the human genome, the complete set of human genes, find that nearly all diseases have a genetic component. Some diseases are caused by mutations that are inherited from the parents and are present in an individual at birth, or sickle cell disease. Other diseases are caused by acquired mutations in a gene or group of genes that occur during a person's life. Such mutations are not inherited from a parent but occur either randomly or due to some environmental exposure. Example is cigarette smoke. These include many cancers, some forms of neurofibromatosis. So in the movie Leatherface, Jackson is a product of incest or inbreeding. Inbreeding is the mating of organisms closely related by ancestry. It goes against the biological aim of mating, which is the shuffling of DNA. Human DNA is bundled into 23 pairs of chromosomes. Within each chromosome, there are hundreds of thousands of genes, and what's more, each gene has two copies known as alleles. Inbreeding results in homozygosity. Homozygosity is having a high rate is problematic for a population because it will unmask recessive deleterious alleles generated by mutations, reduce heterozygote advantage, and is detrimental to survival of small endangered animal population, which can increase the chances of offspring being affected by deleterious or recessive traits. This usually leads to at least temporarily diseased biological fitness of a population called inbreeding depression, which is its ability to survive and reproduce. Inbreeding increases the risk of recessive gene disorders. Inbreeding also increases the risk of disorders caused by recessive genes. These disorders can lead to calf abnormalities, miscarriages, and stillbirths. Animals must have two copies of recessive gene to have the disorder.